So I've said before that most people can roll a ball over a target and at least hit that target most of the time. The problem is if that's the wrong target, a perfect putt doesn't go in. So we're doing videos, several in a row, on green reading because that's choosing the right target. Today we're going to talk about plumb bobbing, and I'm going to give you exact instructions on how to do it, what works best for me, the strengths and weaknesses of plumb bobbing, how to do it without slowing down the game because that's critically important. And then at the end, I'm going to show you kind of a new method of plumb bobbing that Bryson DeChambeau and some other tour pros have been using, and how to do that and talk about that a little bit. So let's go. So a plumb bob, the idea of plumb bobbing comes from the centuries-old, thousands of years old construction method of using a string with a weight on the bottom of that string to determine a straight line. And it works. Carpenters and brick masons still use that method today, a string and a plumb line to determine a straight line. And if you know that it's not straight, you know which way it's off and you can make adjustment to make it straight. It still works in building construction. Well, your putter and your shaft is not exactly a plumb bob, but you can use it to plumb bob putts, and it is very, very effective with some limitations. Let's get started and talk about that. Before you can use your putter as a plumb bob, you're going to have to calibrate your putter. Here's why. Your putter shaft is tapered. It's thicker up here than it is down here. That means that even if you have it hanging perfectly vertical, this is not a 100% straight line because the line's bigger up here than it is down here. So you got to calibrate it for that reason. The second is most putters are not shafted like my Honu where they go straight into the center. They have a plumber's neck or some kind of an attachment, so that gives you a little bit of angle change. Most putters are not perfectly balanced so that the face of the putter stays exactly where you put it no matter where that is. Notice I have it on an angle. It doesn't twist or rotate. Most putters are not made that way, so you got to calibrate it for that reason. And then finally, all putters have a lie angle, which means this is not a straight up and down line. You got to calibrate your putter for that reason. I'm going to go inside and show you how to calibrate your putter so you have an accurate plumb bob right now. And if you don't do this, if you don't calibrate your putter, you're wasting your time plumb bobbing. You can't possibly be accurate and consistent. So here we go with how to calibrate your putter. So to calibrate your putter, you need a straight edge. I chose to use a door jamb, and you'll hang your putter up and use your dominant eye. It's really kind of hard to see this on the camera, and yeah, there are other people in the house, and that doesn't matter. It's really hard to set up a camera because I'd need to put the camera exactly where my eye is, but you get the concept. So you hold your putter up to that edge that you know is straight, and you keep twisting and rotating your putter until it lines up perfectly square. And that may take a little bit of time, but you eventually get there, and of course it wiggles. You have to be patient. And you get one edge of your putter shaft perfectly square with that door jamb or whatever straight edge you're using. And then you note how the putter is pointed. This one is pointed at about 11 o'clock, and that's calibrated for that putter. Now you have your putter calibrated, and you're ready to plumb bob a putt on the golf course. So now I know with my Honu where I want to hold it and which edge of the putter shaft I'm looking at and what I'm doing there. Now I have a putt out on the green. And let me first say my personal experience, to about 20, maybe 25 feet at the high end, I find this very accurate. 15 to 18 feet, I've got about a 15, 16 footer that I've laid down here. Incredibly accurate. Once you get past that, it's really difficult. Double breaking or triple breaking putts does not work very well, which is why I said in the first video that we did in this kind of series on green reading, you need multiple methods in your pocket. And I'll give you an example of one here on this practice green in a little bit. But let's talk about it. I've got this putt, so let's answer some questions. Where do I stand? Some people say you need to stand about 3 feet behind the ball and crouch down to plumb bob. I don't find that as accurate. Maybe it's because I'm old and I recently injured a knee in a hiking accident. I don't know. But I find it works better if I stand about 10 feet behind the ball, straight line from my ball to the hole. Second thing, how do you hold the putter? Which hand? You have to determine your dominant eye. Here's how you determine your dominant eye. Hold your thumb up straight out in front of your face. I'm pointed directly at the camera. Okay, I close my right eye and my thumb is still pointed directly at the camera lens. I close my left eye and my thumb looks like it moved way over here, like 3 feet to the right. That means I'm right eye dominant. So you want to use your right eye, or I want to use my right eye, your dominant eye. Second, I want to use my non-dominant hand. So the opposite hand, I'm going to use my left hand. I've tried it both ways. This works better. Now I'm about 10 feet or so behind the ball. So I line up and I'm using the middle of my putter shaft, holding the putter the way I calibrated it. And I line up the ball and the hole. Let me stop here. You cannot use the stick because the stick is going to sit in the bottom of the hole most of the time. Sometimes it's off to the edge and it's pointing left or right. Well, that doesn't help you. Sometimes the hole is not cut exactly level on the bottom, and that creates a problem. So you either take the stick out or learn to ignore the stick and see the hole. So I line up ball and hole, and the hole doesn't move away from that, but what comes out is that one side of the hole, and I'm bisecting my ball and the hole, one side of the hole is a little bit higher than the other. That's what the plumb bob does and gives you. In fact, I'm going to show you just with a mark. I'm going to use a coin here. I've got a quarter in my pocket. On this putt, the hole's just a little bit higher on that side, maybe a quarter of a cup. By the way, these are a great way to measure how much of a cup. That's less than half a cup because the stick's on the outside of the coin, so about a quarter of a cup out to the right. That's what I believe this putt is going to do. So now, and of course on the round I couldn't put the quarter there, but for sake of this video, we're going to go at that quarter. So one thing you've got to do is match up the speed. How firm or slow are you going to hit it? I wouldn't practice this from 15 feet, but from like 3 or 4 feet away, let's say 4 or 4.5 here. All right, now I know this putt breaks. I know that coin is for 15 feet, so that's too much. Let's move it in. Actually, the coin is too big of a target. Maybe I can stand it up here. I don't have a tee on me. Okay, so here's what I would practice, and I'd use a tee instead of that coin set standing up. I'm just using for illustration purposes. But from this distance, how much the putt breaks depends on speed. So I might hit one putt. Let's just take it straight at the stick, because there are times when you want to pop it in there, or power it in there. Boom. Okay. Now, this next one, I'm going to aim just between, that coin fell down, but between the coin and the edge of the hole. And I'm going to hit it a little bit slower, kind of what I would call make speed. Just a teeny tiny bit of break, but not giving away the hole. Okay, that went in the hole. It hit the other ball is the reason that it bounced out. Okay, we'll keep that from happening this time. Now for a third one, from the same distance, I'm going to hit it die speed, and I'm actually going to go dead at the middle of the coin. And it's going to break more. But the idea...
It went all the way across the hole.
It went all the way across the hole because I hit it with just barely enough to get there. It broke a lot more. So you can't just walk out on the course tomorrow and go, oh, I can plumb bob and know where to aim. No, you still got to practice a little bit and figure out the speed with which you're comfortable and match that up to your target line based on the high or low side of the hole relative to your putter shaft when you plumb bob with your calibrated putter. So I told you I was going to show you a new method of plumb bobbing that Bryson DeChambeau and a few other people are doing. Don't do this unless you've calibrated your putter, because the principle is still the same. You have to have a straight edge or a straight line to plumb bob with. But he's been standing, actually squatting 2 or 3 feet behind the ball, pointing his putter at the hole. Now the problem here is because I'm holding it right by the head, I'm holding it fairly tight so it's not able to move freely. Need to hold it up here, and as you and I all know, Bryson uses a much longer putter, so it's easier. But I'm going to hold it out here with my shaft pointed at the hole, and when I do that, this putt looks to be just a tiny bit like this brown piece of grass we'll use out right there inside. I have a hard time using this method because my problem is when I hold the putter loosely, it's straight up and down, and he's holding it pointed at the hole. He has a much longer putter shaft, and so that's part of the issue there. And again, you shouldn't do any of these without some practice. Right at that brown dead piece of grass I placed. And it broke more than that. Again, I've played with this method a little bit. I hadn't tried it much. So I missed that one. You saw I missed it by a lot right at the end. It breaks more than that. I would not have aimed the putt there on my personal read. Not knocking this method. I'm just saying if you're going to do it, you need to practice it a lot and get good with it. I've tried it for an hour or so and hadn't been able to figure it out and be accurate with it. And I feel like I should be more accurate than that. I started it outside that piece of grass. So plumb bobbing. Calibrate your putter. Make sure you're using an actual straight line or you'll never get the slope. Number 2, do some practice so you know when you see the hole high or low relative to your plumb bob that you know how much this high or this low means you need to aim to the edge of the hole or outside the hole, or how much outside the hole. Practice that at different distances. Those are the strengths. It's very accurate. It's really useful on 5, 8, 10-foot putts when you're not exactly sure which way it's going to break and you just can't figure out. If you've got a plumb bob, a good plumb bob, and you make an accurate read, it'll tell you which way that putt's going to break, which is hugely helpful. Now the weakness. Weakness number 1 is it does take some practice to get good at knowing how much inside or outside or right or left to aim. Number 2, you've got to match that up with speed, which again means it's going to take some time and energy and effort on your part. I personally think it's worth that time and energy and effort. Weakness number 3, like any green reading method, it's not absolutely perfect. It doesn't work in all situations and circumstances. You need to have multiple green reading tools, if you will, in your bag or in your golf tool belt. So work on multiple different ones. Plumb bobbing really doesn't help much at all on super long putts, nor does it help on double or triple breaking putts, which means you can't rely solely on plumb bobbing to get there. Weakness number 4, and this isn't a weakness, but it's something you got to deal with. The flag sticks on the golf course are not straight up and down. You've got to train yourself to plumb bob off the hole, not the stick. And that may mean for some of you that you're going to pull the stick to make your Plumb Bob read. That's perfectly fine, but let me warn you right up front. When you start doing this, people on your foursome and the people in the group behind you are automatically going to go, oh crap, we got a guy plumb bobbing, he's going to slow the game down. If you use this method, it's on you, and it's your responsibility not to be a slow player. Get it done. Make it quickly. In fact, I'm going to show you, I'm just going to toss a ball out. Didn't look, don't know where it is, what it is, and I'm going to walk through plumb bobbing it very quickly and making the putt. Okay, it's 5 or 6 footer to this hole. Let's go do that, Mr. Cameraman. You don't have to slow down, play. So I'm going to get about 10 feet of the ball from behind the ball, like I said. Look at that one. Okay, I've got a read. My read is this dark spot right there on the grass, actually just inside that, between that and the hole. Now I line up. So I've got my read. I'm lining up. Has this taken any extra time? No. Boom, dead in the middle. Doesn't take a lot of extra time. So if you like tips like this on reading greens, making more putts, give this video a thumbs up, share it with somebody that needs it. Give us a subscribe, and until next time, here's to you making more putt.